good to see you all. Kirti. Oh, Mahar Sonali 237. Which haircut you have? Oh, is there a name to it? I have no idea. I just went for a trim the other day, so I think it's just freshened up. Ma'am, that's a lovely top you're wearing. Where is it from? Thailand. I just went to Thailand, so I picked up some of these nice printed t-shirt looking tops. I bought almost 5-6 of them together. So if you see me in a lot of printed tops, it's because I have just come back from Thailand. Super reasonable, super cheap, and I love how they look. Your God sent. Oh, that's so sweet. Chanch0412. That's very sweet of you to say. Good morning to Nisha Karthik, good morning, madam. Recently, I have become a memory and a speed reading coach for teenage children. I'm also a dentist. You are my inspiration. So I want to impact young minds. How I can get good in coaching. Nisha, I don't know if you know, but I run a program called Coaching Mastery almost every month for 2 full days, where we start on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m., go till 6 in the evening, again start at 9 a.m. on Sunday, go till 6. And the only thing I purely teach is how to become a phenomenal coach, how to position yourself, how to create your package, how to do your pricing, how to promote yourself, how to make your processes, all of these things that a coach will need on their journey so that you have clear strategy and a lot of confidence to be able to run your business. So if that's something that interests you, just in the chat box today, just put Coaching Mastery and we'll send you the link for the masterclass. It's a 1.5 hour masterclass. If you like what you see, you can join the 2 days. Okay? You're looking so beautiful and pretty, ma'am. So sweet. I've been doing OMAD recently, so I've been feeling really good. OMAD is basically 1 meal a day. Almost every alternate day, I do 1 day intermittent fasting, 1 day OMAD. I don't know medically whether it is a great thing to do or not, so please don't follow me without checking with your doctor. But I'm just a believer that we are eating more food than we need, especially after a certain age, and I want to really cut my quantity now. As I get close to 50 in the next few years, I want to start to eat proportionately to the amount of food required in my body. I also meditate. So what happens in meditation is you get connected to source energy. So then your energy does not come from food and drinks and all of that. Your energy actually starts to come from source. So the more you live in your highest passion, the more you are living your mission, I feel like you can then start to eat a little lesser food, which helps in your brain fog. And especially now with pre-menopause, menopause, all of that journey is going to come. It hasn't yet fully come, but I know I'm on my way. I want to prepare myself so that if ever I have to create guidance for my ladies, so that I can start to guide ladies by 40 itself, how to prepare for that decade, so that when you hit 50, you don't have to go through all that we women go through. Rather, you can be so much more correct about what's going to be happening to you. So again, in life, everything is about pre-preparation. The more prepared you are for your marriage, for motherhood, for children, for menopause, for making money, the more prepared you are. What are the things that you're doing behind the scenes to make that a reality for yourself? I think has a huge role to play, and I really like working on different aspects of my life. So Chanchal from my CC group, so happy to have you here, darling. Hello, Pooja. Finally, I joined your Insta Live. I missed your Insta Live, yes, last time. Oh, no worries. So happy to have you here. Didi, happy vibes. I need to shift my field from IT to something more like art. How should I start my journey? Happy vibes. Anytime you are moving from one to the other, I normally say don't burn your bridges, rather create a bridge. What does that mean? Continue to do what you're doing, especially if you're financially dependent on it, and start to nurture this on the times when you are free. So anytime after work in the evening, on the weekends. And my basic policy is to move career, you need to make half the money for 3 months consecutively in your new career to leave your old career. Now, if you have the kind of money that you can sustain yourself for 6 months, then maybe you can do a transformation or an instant jump. But I normally don't recommend instant jumps because I feel like I don't want any form of money desperation in your new career. So because I don't want you to be money desperate, I need you to give it the time it deserves for the mastery that you need. Now remember, in the business that you currently are, you may already be a master because you may have already put in 3 to 5 years into that. But the new career that you're choosing will need more time, more mastery. So if for some time, for example, I'll give you, when I was running a preschool called Alps and Life by Design ran consecutively for almost 3 years. I think from 2011 to 2015 or 2016. So almost 3 to 4 years. I ran both of them parallelly before I moved into shutting Alps down. So I'd love for you to, I would love to recommend to you that you never want to be desperate for money in a new career. So see, either you save for 6 months, then move your career, or you look at how can you earn half the money from the new business for 3 months consecutively. Why do I say 3 months consecutively? Because anybody can put in a lot of good ideas and earn it in 1 month. But then you'll be eating out of that month for the next couple of months. And that's what I see a lot of coaches do. Because they don't have a clear strategy, they use an idea, they make money, then they eat out of that money for a couple of months. Then they again get completely, starved. So they use a new idea and they go from idea to idea, course to course. No, you have to create a system, a strategy. How are you going to earn this much amount of money every month? Then how are you going to double that money every month? Then how are you going to triple that money every month? That's how you build a business. Yeah. Chanchal is asking, ma'am, what's the difference between coaching and therapy? So there are 2 ways you can transform your life. One is by going into your past and healing it. And one is by creating such a beautiful future that the past stops mattering. Now, depending on different people, I feel like different therapies work or different modalities work. So therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists have all been trained in one stream of thinking that anytime in life you have an issue, it basically comes from your childhood. I think it's the Freud model, they call it. There was another model actually at that point that got rejected, which was all about that eventually our life is created by our thoughts and our words. We change our words, we change our thoughts, we change our thoughts, we change our feelings, we change our feelings, we change our action, we change our actions, we change our behavior. When we change our behavior, we change our life. Okay, now that model is all of the coaching model. So the coaching model is based on your future, while a lot of your therapies, your psychiatrists, psychologists, all of that is based a lot on your past. If you have a very, hard past, work with your past before you come into the future if you feel that's important. And if you feel like, no, my past doesn't have enough to work with, but I really want to make my future mind-blowing, then going for coaching is a great idea. So if I see someone who's going on visiting their past when they come to me for coaching, then I say, you know what, go and get all of this cleared, because there is a lot of stuff that is sitting there that needs clearance. But most of the time I have seen, just follow this, change your words, change your vocabulary, change your thoughts, change your belief system, change your action, change your feelings. All of that changes with just what you are saying. I was watching a Pramod Tripathi, reel kello, and he said something very beautiful. He said, when I am getting into a role, I have to go from mechanical to making the role magical. Which means, let's say I'm playing a very happy person. He said, I'll just keep smiling for 3 hours every single day. If I smile for 3 hours every single day, my body creates the chemicals required for me to be a happier person. If I'm a happier person, what are the chances I'll speak differently, I'll be differently? And he says, mechanically, every single day, I will practice that, becoming that person in a very artificial and a very exaggerated way. And he said, if I practice that, being that person long enough, I will slip into magical. So I feel like just the way he's preparing for a role, aren't all of us actually in some ways preparing for a role? Maybe our role looks like happy. Maybe our role looks successful. Maybe our role looks elegant. Maybe our role, decide what's the energy of the role you would love to play in your life and just start to follow that role a lot more. I have noticed in my life, anytime I want to become something, I write out that word, and then for 1 month, I'll just keep enacting that word. Let's say I want to be disciplined Pooja, or I want to be courageous Pooja, or I want to be leader Pooja. Then I'll keep asking myself, okay, what would disciplined Pooja do versus what is this Pooja doing? Oh, disciplined Pooja would do dash. Okay, let's do dash. And you do that role long enough, what are the chances that you'll slip in from mechanical to magical? Do you know what I mean? So I'd love for every single one of you to start to just look at what's that one word energy and how can you start to become more of it, more of it, more of it. Oh, you will have such a good time. Gayatri Anand 809. How much time should we spend on reading books for motivation? Gayatri, there was a time in my life where I have spent, almost a book a day. I was consumed by this topic called manifestation, and I think I have read and read and read. So how long should you spend? In the beginning, a lot of time. Slowly and steadily, what will start to happen is you will start to see repetition in that topic. Then I move to some other topic. Now, how much time do I have for reading? I will spend that much time. If I can take out an hour a day, then an hour a day. If I can take out 2 hours a day. Today, I'm a lot more about podcasts than I am about reading. So what's happened is I have an advantage. I can do 2 activities together. So I put on my headphones and I start walking. And I'm walking and listening. So 2 things are getting done simultaneously. So I get very happy and excited about the fact that I can do 2 things simultaneously. Yeah? So as much time as you can. I don't know if learning needs to have a end line, And I think different days, different amounts of time happen. For me, at least, especially, I don't know if I can every single day give the same amount of time. So I just look at, okay, today I'm in the mood to read. Today I'm in the mood to, I have a free day. I can spend a lot more time studying. Some days I don't have time. Like tomorrow is a Thursday. Thursdays are crazy days for me. It starts at 9 in the morning. I go till 1 o'clock. Again, it starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I go till 5-ish almost. So Thursdays, there's no way I can spend time reading, right? So it's all about your life and your management of which days are heavy days, which days are lighter days. And otherwise, just enjoy as much as you can. If you have free time, why you want to stop? Stop when you get tired. Saravagi Radhika is asking, hello ma'am, your skin is so flawless. What is your skincare routine? I should first remove the filter and show you skin is not as flawless as it's looking here. This is all filter. I don't know if you can see the filter. No, you can't see the filter in this particular one. Okay, these are all filters, sweetheart. Nobody's skin is so poreless that you are thinking that we are all sitting with magical skin. By the grace of God, today there are so many different things you can put on your filters and all that you can start to look poreless. Having said that, I do have a very strong skincare routine, but mine is not many steps. So I have a face wash and I have a serum and I have a retinol. All 3 that I use a very, very light retinol. So therefore, it can be used in the day. You'll have to check with your doctor if he can give you a very, very light retinol. And then in the evening, I do put a vitamin C serum plus a retinol for the evening. I'm not very heavy into moisturizing, though I know I should. But because I live in a city that is highly humid, I tend to get greasy faster. So I do a lot more serums than I do creams. And then, of course, if you can put an SPF, nothing like it. I know dermatologists swear by it. I am slightly lazy with my SPF, so I do it and then I forget, and then I do it and then I forget. So apologies for that. But I'm very, very particular about removing all of my makeup at night. So if you can, make sure that if you are someone who applies makeup, the stronger your makeup routine in the morning, the stronger your removal of makeup at night should be there. That's a very important thing. Overall, I'm also extremely comfortable with my skin. What do I mean by that? Of course, with age, it has started to age. And one of the things I really want to start to advocate in life is that aging is beautiful. And I want to start to speak a lot more about aging gracefully, because I'm feeling like we're living in a world where a lot of anti-aging is being promoted to us at every level, in every possible way. And I feel like the older women are feeling like they are depreciating assets rather than kuan of wisdom. Okay, so if you at some point in your life do not move from outer to inner, see, a woman till 35 can totally enjoy her outer and she'll get a lot of compliments, a lot of, attention. If she keeps herself well and she presents herself well, she's an asset in the world. But the minute you hit 30, 35, 40, 45, you are somebody who's going to now slowly start aging. And I feel like we are speaking against aging so much in society. There is this certain amount of control that society has. You see, men, they appreciate with time. They get richer, they get fancier, they get more, better watch, better car, better appreciating asset, right? How fun it would be to be an appreciating asset. Who the hell in the world wants to be a depreciating asset? But we have been convinced, thanks to our consumer personality, that, these wrinkles are not good, these brown spots are not good, this saggy skin is not good, this, I don't know. This gray hair, I don't know if you can see it, it's all coming. Okay, this gray hair is not good, this is not good, this is not. Now, I am a big believer of enhancing and presenting myself as the best version of myself, but I'm not a big believer of getting so insecure that I have to change fully how I look. True or not? So I feel like I want us women to come together and fight this whole war against aging that we as women have created. Now, good for those who have great genes, but what about those who don't have great genes? Where do we go? Okay, because we are going to age. It is all going to come downwards. Gravity is going to pull us all down. And I feel like we have to really start to know what it is we want. Otherwise, we will get sucked into consumerism. And can I tell you today, there's something now called baby Botox. You know what is baby Botox? When you start to inject Botox into your fine lines at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I'm like, what the hell in the world? Those are that age. Your skin is so beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous. What wrinkles at 18, 19, 20, 21 will you have? You can see I'm very passionate about this topic, so God bless you all. Oh, somebody's saying no retinol in the day. No, don't worry. My dermatologist has agreed with me on that. So please do not follow me at all if you don't want to. But I have a particular cream that I use and it suited me so much. So please do not at any point make the mistake of using retinol in the day if you are not under someone who is brilliant at what they do. And maybe this is not for everybody. Maybe it's just for me. Khushbu, I feel that a lot of people don't want to talk to me. What is it that I can do to make a real good conversation? Khushbu, I don't know when you say, what do you mean by a lot of people don't want to talk to me? Okay, I feel like this might just be something that you are telling yourself, which is why it is becoming your reality. I would love for you to firstly change this reality itself. Before you start to become an extremely amazing conversationalist, I want you to every morning stand in front of the mirror and start to really speak about, I am an interesting conversationalist. People love talking to me. I am someone who brings a lot of value in people's life. When I speak to someone, they enjoy my conversation. I have a feeling you first need to change this belief system before you become an interesting conversationalist. Now, one of the things I have learned in conversation is that people love talking. Okay, so if you are someone who wants to become a great conversationalist, more than what you talk about, it's about the questions you ask. So can you, instead of listening to reply, start to ask further questions? For example, let's say my friend is coming and telling me, and she's super excited about a holiday that she went for, and she's saying, Pooja, it was so mind-blowing, we stayed here, we ate this. And then instead of me saying, oh, you know where I went for my holiday? What if I go, oh, tell me more. Oh wow, this is so interesting. What was the highlight? What did you truly enjoy? Which was the best dish you ate on this trip? Can you see, when she goes away, she would have had such a good time? Because one of the things I learned from Bill Clinton, and he's supposed to be one of the most charming personalities at one point on the planet. So one of the things he used to say is, if you truly want people to be interesting, be interested. And I really liked that sentence. If you truly want people to be interesting, the interesting people are the ones who are interested in your life. So see, if you can be interested in people's life, you will become interesting to others. Priyanka, how to get out of comfort zone? Want to switch my job, but I'm also not able to take the action. Please help. How to get out of the comfort zone? Want to switch my job? I'm not able to take the action. Please help. Priyanka, the biggest problem with decision making. Can you all hear me? Can you all see me? Sorry, my internet keeps saying due to low connection, we are pausing your. Okay, I hope I'm lovely. Super. Yeah. So what I'd love for you to do is, in life, start to make decisions and then start to make even faster decisions to undo wrong decisions. What do I mean? Let's say I make up my mind, I want to go learn Pilates to lose weight. I go for my Pilates class, and where I go for the class, I don't like the class. But I have made up my mind I'm going to do Pilates, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's my mind playing games or whatever. And I attend a session, a trial session, and I feel like I don't really enjoy it. Now it's up to me, right, to change that decision. So I can make a decision, try it out, and then feel like, okay, sometimes in a decision I want to last a month. Sometimes in a decision I just want to check it out one day. Let's say you were starting to date a man. You went on your first day, you didn't enjoy it. Why do you want to marry or get engaged to someone like that? Or why do you even want to go for a second date if the first date was not good, right? Now, if you enjoyed the date, continue the sessions. If I enjoyed the Pilates, continue the session. So what I have learned in my life is, make decisions faster than most people and learn to undo that decision faster than most people. So when you do that, what happens is, in life, you become a queen of what I call exploring. And when you are continuously exploring, very quickly you will find the right thing. I recently had someone over at my place. She wasn't feeling too well, so we were supposed to just explore what could be going wrong with her. We did homeopathy also, naturopathy also, Ayurveda also, allopathy also, therapy also, yoga class also. We said, let's try everything and see concept. Am I back? Oh God, I hope this internet is... okay, fine. Maybe it's just going and coming. Let me see if I can switch on my AC. So, it's all about how fast you can become an explorer. And the thing with exploring is, school system has taught us that if you join something and you leave it, you have failed. Okay, now I want you to put a break or a gap between exploring and then committing. So exploring when you leave something, it's not called failure. It's called, it didn't work out. It wasn't for me. It was not the right idea. So it's not called failing. I feel like too many of us in life don't explore enough. We straight commit. I want to start, let's say, energy business. I'm straight going to put the factory or what? No. I must explore and see, do I even like it? Is that something I want to do? Is that something that is worth my time, energy, effort? And if it doesn't come out to be, I didn't fail. I was only exploring. Next thing. So in exploration, what is the advantage before you make the commitment? You never commit. You never fail. You're only in experimenting. In experimenting, the word experiment means you can pass also and you can fail also. Both are a part of experiments. True or not? When an experiment fails, nobody says you failed. You know why? Because anyway, it was an experiment. Same with exploring. Explorations can go right, can go wrong. Both options exist. So use more of these words called experimenting and exploring in your life rather than dedication and commitment. Dedication, commitment is phase 2, not phase 1. Elvin, can a coach help a client who has more than psychological issues? a coach can help a client that does not need medication. So I can pretty much help anybody who doesn't have a locha going on. If they have a personality disorder, if the mental wellness is now a disease that they are carrying because of whatever reasons, bipolar or schizophrenia or whatever, doing a phenomenal job in their life. So it's very important to send these people. So be a coach, but the minute you feel like I can't help this person because this person's problems are not coming from their conscious energy but from their subconscious, so then I won't be able to help them. So a lot of times what clients do is they also have a psychiatrist to go to and they keep me also. So I keep working with their future. The psychiatrist keeps working with their chemical locha, with the medication and all of the things that they need the client to do. And that combination actually becomes a catalyst to very, very fast they can get out of whatever they've got themselves stuck into. So I feel like we are a nice complementing secondary energy to a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist on her own can be complete, a coach on her own can be complete. Together, sometimes for a client, we can be doubly powerful. Correct or no? So it's like how a surgeon and a doctor have a combo, we can be one combo. Yeah? Tanu Singhal, how to forget a bitter memory? By replacing it. Remember, in the world we live in, we do not have vacuum allowed. You cannot say, I'm going to stop thinking about something and be able to stop thinking about it. Because the more you say, I'm going to stop thinking, what you're actually genuinely doing is you're thinking more of it. So if I said, don't think of the pink elephant, don't think of the pink elephant, and every single day I said, don't think of the pink elephant, what's going to happen? I'm going to be thinking of the pink elephant. So what do I need to do? I need to replace it. Now let's say I want to stop thinking about the pink elephant. Can I start thinking about the green frog? Can I think about the green frog sitting on a yellow lion? Can I think about the green frog sitting on a yellow lion swimming through a blue deep ocean? I can, right? So the more you bring in not memories, rather things that you want to think about, the more you spend time thinking about the things you want to think about, the more automatically in your subconscious, all of that will start to die out. Now remember, trauma has a way of clicking a picture. What do I mean by trauma has a way of clicking a picture? Your body's job is to protect you. So because it has to protect you, when you experience anything too harsh, too much, it needs to remember it so that it never happens again. Okay, so let's say the first time you put your hand in fire, you didn't know it was going to be hot. But now that you put your hand in fire, you remember the burn. And that burn photo, your mind has taken. Now, anytime you go near a fire, guess what you're going to think of? The trigger is going to happen because the fire triggers to you in the thought of the burn. Okay. Now, what if I have given myself a new story around fire? That fire when touched can be very dangerous, but when fire sat around can give you the warmth on a nice cold winter evening and make you feel very cozy. It can make you feel beautiful. It can be a very romantic evening. It can be, so fire has great possibilities. It's just that I experienced fire the wrong way the first time. Marriage can be great. I experienced the wrong one. Parents can be great. I got the wrong one. Motherhood can be great. My 3 months went in postpartum depression. So once you start to understand that there is a trigger, and that trigger can be replaced with a new story, then you can stop feeling so bitter about your past situations. The more you can build a better story, the more intelligence you use to build your better story, the lesser the power, the trauma and that memory, that photograph will have for you. Because you will instantly be able to replace it with whatever it is that you're going to tell yourself. Then that feeling, emotion will not be able to capture you in the way it used to when it actually had happened. Yes? Things I love to do. How much are you charging, ma'am, for the one-to-one sessions with you? A lot. So if you want to do a one-to-one session, my suggestion is get in touch with my team. For the first clarity call, they will call you. You'll have to pay something for the clarity call. Get on a call with me. And if you feel like you and I are a right fit, we will invite you for my one-to-ones. Yes? Postpartum coach Shalini. Many people are asking for the masterclass link but not registering. How to convert more? Shalini, that is really the thing that a lot of people will ask, but you know what? Timelines sometimes, life keeps happening to people while they are wanting to do many things. A lot of us want to do a lot of things, but do you think we are able to? No. So one of the things you have to start to understand is that you have to go through more number of people rather than trying to convince the people who are asking but not being able to join. So if you can start to look at everything at the end of the day, what I have realized in my business is a numbers game. If 100 people come, 10 convert. If 10 convert, 5 continue. If 5 continue, 2 join the one-to-ones. 2 join the one-to-ones. 1 becomes a long lifetime loyal fan. Now, I know that if I go through 100 people, all of this will happen. But if I try to do it at 50 people, it does not happen. So once you start to understand that there is a certain amount of numbers that this universe keeps playing with us with, and you start to understand those numbers a lot more deeply, then you will see that your entire business strategy is actually a numbers game. How to stay positive even if things are not going in your favor. I actually, Krits, have a word that I call divine delay in my life. So whenever something is not going in my favor, I don't start to believe that it's not happening for me, against me. I start to believe it's happening for me. So I love saying things like, you know what, a fast food restaurant can give you food in 5 minutes, but my ask is a Michelin star restaurant. So because my ask is of a higher standard, there may be a slight delay, but what I'm going to receive is going to be 10 times better than even what I asked for. And that's the new belief I have created for myself. So I'd love for you to start to look at, you know, what's a belief you can sit with patiently when you are in waiting for something that you want happening in your life. What can keep you in your faith and surrender even though nothing looks like it's working for you? So I just love to sit and believe, continuously keep believing that there is divine delay, that God knows better what it is that he's giving me in whichever form that he's giving me. That I've told him clearly what it is I want. Now he has to give me that or something better. But the way he does it, I cannot control. That only he can know. And somehow he knows better than me. And then when I keep doing that, that conversation just becomes much easier to sit with. So see if you can use divine delay in any way in your life for you to start to feel more positive about the fact that it's all coming. You know, sometimes I will say that when I doubt it, I put a gate on it. If I want to open the gate, I have to stop doubting and I have to start believing. And the more I believe, the faster the speed at which it will come. So I have all of this going on in my imagination. My suggestion, build an imagination where every single day you spend time in your future where you've already achieved it, and you'll start to see a lot of opportunities and resources getting in alignment, getting in synchronization with all that you want. Dr. Sana, ma'am, how to build shattered confidence since childhood, which is now affecting every area of my life? Firstly, my suggestion, don't use words like shattered confidence. When you use a word that strong, that harsh, your mind and body is literally telling you that a shattered thing cannot be rebuilt. Okay? So whenever I am feeling massively angry, I'll say I'm mildly annoyed. I wanted to first replace these words called shattered confidence with, you know what, my confidence got a hit. How can I get back up again now? So first change that. Okay. After having changed that, how do you build confidence? Taking small risks and accomplishing it. So let's say I want to build confidence in speaking to people. Okay. Can I every day make it a mission to speak to a stranger? This could be the chowkidar. I can ask him, chai pi ke nahi aaj? Okay, this could be a waiter in a restaurant, mere ko tomato ketchup la do. It's small things that I can do every day. Maybe when I'm sitting in the aeroplane, I make an effort to chat up with my neighbor. And I keep doing these small risks, accomplishing it, small risks. See, with outsiders, it doesn't matter what they think of us. So it's much easier to speak to a stranger than it is to speak to a known person. Then slowly bring it into our outer circle. Then slowly bring it into our inner circle. What is the possibility that a day will come where you will feel super comfortable talking to anybody because now you've exposed yourself with practice for 365 days into speaking with people without even knowing them, without even having the knowledge of what they would like to talk about and all of that. So you build back your confidence one day at a time. I call it the commitment muscle. You have to build the commitment muscle. Just like the way you go into the gym and you can't lift 100 kilos on day one, the same way on day one you will not feel that confidence. You're going to have to act as if. You're going to have to pretend for a while that you have confidence. You walk with confidence, you talk with confidence, even though from inside your legs are shaking, your heart is beating, your palms are sweaty, and you're having a complete panic attack. But you do it, till one day the panic attack disappears and you're comfortable doing it. It happens when you put in the effort. It's the effort that is required. A lot of us are waiting for confidence to come before and then we show it. Unfortunately, the formula is exactly opposite. You have to show confidence before it comes. The more you show it, the more it will come. Happier woman, dear Pooja, how to make my leads pay? I'm doing so many things for free in my life coaching. Aww. For all of you here who are asking me coaching advice, why are you not coming for Coaching Mastery? I highly recommend come for Coaching Mastery. These 2 full days will give you so much information on what you are doing right, what you are doing wrong, what you need to add, what you need to reduce. Because you know what, today this is all science. You no longer need to guess your way through business. Businesses now sit on strategies that people have already achieved success from. So all you need to do is take the step-by-step methodology and use it in your journey. Correct or no? Now, when you're asking me how to make my leads pay, how good is your clarity call? How good is your interaction when they give you their phone number and email ID? From that point till they convert, what all are you doing to make sure that they convert? Some of you are overfeeding. What do I mean by that? When you go to a restaurant and you get a free taster from the kitchen, do you know what is the size of that taster? Sometimes half a tomato with 1 small piece of cheese and basil in 1 spoon. The chef doesn't send you the pizza to prove that he's going to be brilliant in his cooking, because if you eat the pizza, you're not going to order anything. True or not? I feel like a lot of times what we are doing with our leads is we are trying so hard to tell them to ensure that they get the value from us and that they can see we are capable, we are confident, we are competent, that we overgive, we oversupply. I will hear of people doing 2-hour-long clarity calls. Oh, Pooja, her first session, I gave her 3 hours, but she never came back. Of course, if you give someone 3 hours, why will they come back? You've sorted all their issues at one go. You never sort a client's all issues at one go. Because you know what? Even if you think you've sorted, you've not sorted. You've actually done a disservice to them. Ideally, their issues should need to be worked upon over a period of time so that it becomes permanent. How many of you have heard of the yo-yo diet? You lose weight too fast, you'll gain it back too fast. Isn't it true? The same is if you overgive in coaching too fast. I can give my coaching 8 weeks program in 8 days. Can I or can I not? Why do I not do that? I want it to be over 8 weeks. God could have made us have a child in 9 days instead of 9 months. Why has He given us 9 months to prepare? Because He knows that the change that your life will bring when the baby comes, He needs you to know you are pregnant and He needs you to prepare your life for the pregnancy. He doesn't want that evening you make love to your dear darling husband and next morning you have the baby, because that will be disastrous. Correct? So in life, it's all about preparation. So I want you to start to look at when you see your leads, what's the conversation you're having? And if you don't know what conversation to have, come for my coaching mastery. I'll give you the exact template for the clarity call that I do that converts at a level that you will be amazed. Okay, sweetheart? You need help and I want to help you. Tejal, hi, I'm on a break in my career due to my child. It has been 2 years. My husband is constantly behind me to work and fights sometimes. I'm trying to find clarity in my career. I feel so stuck. I feel so pressurized. You know why I'm making this face? To every single woman that becomes mother and wants to enjoy her motherhood and her man is not giving her the space or the platform to enjoy her motherhood, is doing a disservice to his wife. She will get back to work and she will be at one point smarter than the man itself. But you know what she would have lost? The protection and the providing and all of the things that the man was supposed to bring while the woman was having the baby. The woman was never supposed to be the breadwinner. She's the receiver. She's got the womb. God made one person with the womb so that she can be busy having her children and enjoying and supporting and loving, and he put all of those hormones into us, all of the things that make us that person that, you know what, for a little baby we will give our life. That's the hormones we carry, right? Of love, of nurturing, of all of that. And the man was supposed to carry all of the masculine energy, which was of going out in the world, being physically stronger, doing the labor, coming back and bringing the money and food on the table. Correct or no? Now, this combination used to work so beautifully for us. But unfortunately, at some point, because the women didn't feel valued, they decided, I can be a better man in this world than the man is. And so we started to go out. Now, when you have a baby, all of your hormones get moved into the energy of nurturing. So at those few years, it's not about economics. It's not about making money. It's about investing into the future of the world, which is your child. Correct or no? So I just feel like, to all men who are listening, or to all the women who have any influence on their men, which means if you are mothers of boys or whatever, let your man know that from the time he has a baby, it is his job, it is his duty. Just the way it's the duty of the woman to be a fabulous mother for those 5-6 years, it is the duty of the father to provide for the mother for those 5 to 6 years so that she can be an amazing mother. I am not someone who advocates that the father needs to be a father full time. I am more interested in the father being such a good husband that the mother can be a brilliant mother. I don't know if you got what I'm just trying to say here. But I'm not so much like, I know today there's a lot of importance given to fatherhood. Can I tell you, fatherhood on its own does not change any chemicals in the father's body when you become a father. Anybody's child, if I have convinced a man this is your child, he will get convinced and be a great father. But the mother actually has a chemical shift where she wants to be there for her baby, where there's that connection, the fact that there is breastfeeding involved, because the mother's supposed to hold the baby. You're supposed to be connected physically, emotionally, in every possible way. So Tejal, can you please rediscuss with your man that the day my child goes to full day school, okay, which means that, let's say your school is 9 to 4. The day my child does a 9 to 4, I will start working again. Till then, it is your job to protect and provide for me. Now, what you can do in the meantime is spend time learning. So a great time, I always say, in the period of a mother is that she can actually join courses. She can actually look at building her competency so that when she comes back into the world 5, 6, 7 years later, she's not lost. She's actually more prepared than most women, which I think is such a fabulous thing to do. So I encourage a lot of my ladies, especially when they are pregnant or they have little children, that, you know what, start to work on your personality, your attitude, your competency. What are the things you can learn? And today the beauty is, from the comfort of our home, we have access to almost all education on the planet. How wonderful has life become that I can access a course in Harvard sitting in the comfort of my home. I can access courses across the world. I can learn Excel, and I can learn how to be a great mother, and I can learn how to be a great woman, and I can learn how to be empowered. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. I can learn new recipes every single day if I want to. There is so much to learn. So those 5-7 years, spend time in learning. Your child is learning. He's watching you learn. And you know, one of the things you're becoming for him is a role model. You're not saying all my time is for you, my sweetheart. My time is divided between me working on myself and working on you. And when your child sees that, guess what he's learning? He or she is also then learning that, you know what, it's okay to love others, but also to keep working on yourself, to keep continuously keeping your learning journey on. And I just feel like that combination is so much better a house combination than the one where the people around you start to pressurize you to start to work right after having a baby. And for me, right after having a baby is almost till the age of 5. Okay, let's go right to the bottom. Which shade of lipstick are you wearing? I mix 4 or 5 lipsticks, so there's no way I can ever tell what the shade of lipstick is. What was the base one? I think it was a NARS lipstick, but I think I turned I started out with a pink, but I turned it into an orange. So unfortunately, I mixed too many lipsticks for me to be able to tell you my lipstick color. Anju, ma'am, what about sorry, what about those people who look after elderly? How to focus on self when we are sometimes exhausted and drive is gone to do something myself or to earn money? Anju, if you are looking after the elderly, one of the things you have to do is you have to make sure you're also looking after yourself, because whether it is parenting a little child or it is parenting your parents, which comes, a time comes when you have to now attend to their aging factor, right? And if you are feeling too exhausted, you need to start to look for help. Whether it is going to be on hire, or it is going to be from your siblings, or it is going to be from your family, how can you get help? Because that's very, very important on the journey. Otherwise, you will just get exhausted. And I see so many women getting exhausted. You know, I once heard this story about a woman who got cancer, and she was also looking after her children. She was also looking after her in-laws. She was also looking after the house. She was also driving. She was also cleaning her home. She was also cooking. And the day she died, her husband replaced her with 6 different people. He got a nurse for his parents. He got a teacher for his children. He got a cook in the house. He got a cleaner. He got a driver. All of that happened, and all that while that woman had been giving all of herself. And I feel like it's so important for you to know that you are dispensable. We women somewhere are so insecure about becoming indispensable that what if we are able to be replaced? Please be replaced. Please do not take life pride in being able to do a job that somebody else can do for 20,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees a month. You are more than that. So if you can hire someone, find someone. If you can culture someone. If you can divide your work. Something that I keep telling people, I feel like too many of us are taking too much pride on not a single wrinkle on the bed, not a single dirt or speck in the house, not a single bartan is left unwashed at night. And today morning only I was seeing one reel which was so interesting, which said, a woman said, I'm going to bed. So she went to the kitchen and she, boiled the potatoes for the next morning. She put up the milk. She put the water for the cat. She ironed the children's uniform. She packed up the tiffin and put it in the freezer or fridge. She did this, she did that, and it went on and on. And that lady goes on for almost 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes discussing. And then she did that, and then she did that, and then she went to the room, and then she did her cleaning of her face, then she did her skincare. And by the time the husband switched off the TV and said, I'm going to bed, and came and went to bed. So, women, come on, we need to do better than this. Fabulous. Bharti Muttuswamy saying, hi Pooja ji, after attending your session, felt so happy and confident. Sometimes I'm doubting about, am I even on the correct path or missing something to do? Bharti, that's absolutely normal as we go on the journey, because it's questions like this that make us more aware of what we are missing. So if you're feeling like you're having these doubts, explore. Explore, what could I be missing? What could I be doing differently? Am I doing everything correctly? Check, have a mentor, have a coach, have people who can guide you. Make sure that you have people suggesting to you. Who you surround yourself by will eventually become the reason of your success. So be very mindful of that you're surrounded by people that inspire you, that really can guide you, that can lead you. I remember at one point surrounding myself with women who would keep telling me, Pooja, why do you work so hard? If I keep women like that around me who keep asking me, why do you work so hard? Why do you work so hard? What are the chances that at some point I'll start to believe I work too hard? But if I keep myself around women who are working really hard and go, I'm so proud of you, you inspire me, you're so amazing, Pooja, how do you do this? Then what are the chances? What will I feel? So remember that every single person around you is in some form seeding the idea of success or seeding the idea of going away from it. At all times, not just women, every single person around you is doing that. So you want to become really mindful from the people that you surround yourself by. You know, in January, I had gone to Mexico. And I remember this trip to Mexico was such a meaningful trip for me, because as I spent time with the shamans, what they kept speaking about was this whole thing about that we are born with a purpose, and anybody who's taking us away from that purpose, who's telling us to be happier, lazier, do other things other than main job, don't understand that actually our mind does not know what is work, what is play. If you can actually start to play with your work, then you're not actually working, are you? And so I feel like the world we live in right now, we've disassociated a lot of work and play, thinking that weekends are for play, weekdays are for work. what if we start to really enjoy what it is that we do to the level at which, like for example, I've turned my hobby into my business, right? I anyway loved reading. I anyway love self-development. I anyway love working on myself. Now I know how to monetize it. So is my work really work? Because if I keep thinking of it as work, I'm going to think of retirement. I'm going to think of closing it. I'm going to think of passing it on. I'm going to think of, but what if till my last day, this is what I'm supposed to do? Why has Amitabh Bachchan not retired till today? Because I have a feeling deep down for him, his work is not work. And if we can come up with a plan around how our work is not our work, but it becomes our play, then we'll never feel all of the feelings that we keep feeling. True or not? So I'd love for you to start to look at your life and go, you know what, can I make more of my work into play? This is also answering for everybody who's doubting, missing. Also somebody's asking, I want to start to self-earn, but I don't know where to start. My suggestion, make a list of 20 things where you can start and start with any one thing every single day. Don't be so mindful of what should the exact route be. Sometimes the only thing to need to start is we need to sit in the car and get out. फिर रास्ते में पूछ लेंगे कि रास्ते में कैसे रास्ता लेना है. Correct or no? Let's say I have to go somewhere. मैं घर से ही नहीं निकलूंगी तो मैं पहुंचूंगी कैसे? But अगर मैं घर से निकल गई, शायद टेढ़ा मेढ़ा इधर उधर 10 मिनट ज्यादा लगा के, मगर मैं पहुंच जरूर जाऊंगी. True or not? Naya Bashna. Answer, this is so hard to leave. I want to leave and I have planned myself to leave, but it's hard and it's getting hard. I don't know if I really understand your question, Meri Jaan. Answer this, it's hard to leave, but I have planned to leave, but it's hard. Any time in life you're getting out of your comfort zone, it's going to be hard. Your body prefers the familiar sad to the successful new. Everybody understand this. Our body, our mind, our life, even if we are being hit, even if we are domestically abused, even if we are, there is a connection to familiarity that our body likes to stay in. There is a comfort in familiarity. जैसा भी है मेरा है, मैं manage कर लूंगी, and the change doesn't happen. Change requires a lot more energy than staying in the familiar hard. So if you are sitting in a familiar hard and you want to change, then you have to know there are two ways to change. One way to change is for something from outside to become so bad that you change. So you keep waiting for, so the higher your tolerance, the higher your compromise, the higher your ability to adjust, the longer it's going to take change to reach you. Correct or no? Otherwise, there is a change from within where you just start to wake up and say, this is no longer acceptable to me. Now, when you change from within, it's like an egg, right? When you change from within, if the egg breaks from inside, life comes out. If the egg breaks from outside, all you get is a 10 rupees omelette. So a lot of us want change. Let's say I want to quit smoking. I'm not quitting. I'm saying I want to, but it's hard. I want to, but it's hard. I want to, but it's hard. It's too hard. I'm surrounded by friends who smoke. I go for parties where smoking is happening. It's too hard. But tomorrow morning I get a report saying I have cancer. I quit in a second. It's no longer hard. Friends are saying, have no. They're like, you're like, no way. Hello, sweetheart, I have lung cancer. There's no way I'm touching that poison ever again. So now, brilliant people understand that if you learn the art of changing from inside, you don't have to wait for the responding to the world in the bad manner. That means you do not need life to go down for you to take it up. Some people only live in that model. They have to have a fire for them to fight it. Correct? And some people understand that I'm not going to wait for no fire. Every single day, I am going to imagine a better future for myself and start to work towards going there. And that becomes so magical. Hai na? So I wanted to ask you, every single one of you, do you want to be ordinary or extraordinary? You want to be ordinary, keep waiting for life to throw rubbish at you for you to change. You want to be extraordinary, you start to every morning say, you know what, even though I have no health problem, I want to start working on my health because I know that another 10 years, I will have a health problem if I don't work on it. Okay? So what you are able to see, most other people can't see. Most people will live in regret. They'll say, काश मैंने 10 साल पहले योगा शुरू कर दी होती. काश मैंने, and they will live in kash. So people who do not work on their future will live in regret. People who 10 years in advance can predict their future. I know my children are going to need to go to school or college, whatever, and they're going to need money for it. Can I start to today itself have a education fund, marriage fund, this fund? Can I start to put 10 rupees there? Recently, it's my son's 25th birthday, and I came to know that he's received a large amount of money because of some investment I did when he was born in 2000. Okay, on his 25th birthday, he should receive this money. And suddenly, all of us, my husband, me and my son, all were like, oh my God, that's so pretty cool. I'm so glad I did something like that. Suddenly, I'm like, oh gosh, I should do something like that for the future again, because I don't know what made us do that. I can't even recollect what must have been the conversation, but I'm just so happy that suddenly this has happened. Okay, now what's happened? Sometimes you can sow great seeds. Okay, maybe you are doing exercise every single day just because you enjoy it. But you know what? Suddenly at 50, all your friends are starting to get a tone, are starting to get a ganja patch, are starting to get, older. And you are going hiking with your children, or you are going, running every day, and you are feeling fabulous. And every party you enter, you're being told, oh my God, at 50, how do you look like that? Your graduation, what do you call that? When you meet after 25, reunion, your graduation, your school reunion is happening, and you're walking in looking like a wow. So I would love and encourage every single person today, sit down and make a list of what are the problems that are going to come in the next 10 years, and see if you can work on them now rather than waiting for them. Hai na? Alright, we are at 11:02. 11:02 kab ho gaya? Fabulous. Alright, cheers. Let's quickly click a picture. You know the drill. All you need to do is post it on your story, tag me so that I can share it in mine, and put your biggest takeaways. Yeah? Loads of love, everybody. Thank you for coming. Bye. Ciao. Mwah, mwah, mwah.